What's up, potatoes? So one of my oldest subs suggested that I should do a Nobushi guide. Before prepping for this guide, I was really bad with Nobushi, like I had no idea what to do. But after playing around with her hidden stance and learning her moveset, god damn! No one told me about this earlier? She is insane! If played right, she's basically untouchable. Some of her moveset, cough cough hidden stance is borderline overpowered. So Nobushi is a zoning hero, meaning she keeps her distance between her and her opponent and does damage by poking. She basically just chips away at their health until they die. Now she struggles with people who can get close to her like Berserker and Peacekeeper, but she excels at taking on people that can't close the distance quickly. Like a lot of shield heroes are probably going to have a hard time taking you on. Her kit basically consists of getting some distance and some breathing room, and sitting at a comfortable range and doing damage to the enemy while they can't do any damage to you. Also bleeds. So many bleeds. Let's start with her moveset. Her first bleed is pretty straightforward, it's just 3 light attacks. If the second one hits, it's a guaranteed third hit. The rest of her chains are okay, but I don't really use them that much. This is her second bleed. Essentially, you just rush at them outside of guard mode and light attack. Now this is what makes Nobushi so strong. Her hidden stance is borderline broken. Nobushis that know how to use this properly are going to ruin your day. Her third bleed is a simple side dash and light attack. Her fourth bleed is functionally the same thing, you just use guard break to activate it. Kick is also really important, we'll go over that later. And you can also do some really cool things with Sidewinder, which we will also talk about later. For hero specific abilities, you do more damage while they're bleeding, so make sure you get your bleed on them all the time. The cancel attack recovery will go into more detail later on, but you can branch off into some crazy combos with this. Like Nobushi is really good at animation canceling. If Berserker is the king, then Nobushi is the queen of it, and learning how to control it is super important. That's basically the gist of it, and it is actually pretty simple, but we're gonna make it complicated. Let's start with her bleeds first. Her first bleed is just 3 light attacks, and the third light attack causes the bleed. The third hit is guaranteed if you hit the second hit. Another bleed is when you move backwards and press light attack. This has huge range and helps create some distance. Another way to apply bleed is to side dash and press light attack. This is probably going to be your bread and butter bleed. Another good opener is to run at your opponent outside of guard mode and press light attack for another bleed. You can also dash forward and light attack in guard mode, and you can double guard break into a light attack for yet another bleed for a total of 5 ways to bleed your opponent. Now before I get ahead of myself, I think it's important to talk about the best ability in her kit, which is Hidden Stance. Hidden Stance is what's going to separate a great Nobushi from a good Nobushi. Now let's break down this timing. If you already have your parry timing down, you have your hidden stance timing down. The timing is a little bit more forgiving, but it's still pretty tight. When you see that white flash on the indicator, that's when you're going to pull back on your hidden stance. Now remember, the dodge only works at the start of hidden stance. So if you hold it, you won't dodge more attacks. And also make sure you are aware that you can't block while you're holding hidden stance. Trying to is only going to get you killed. Now in my opinion, Nobushi is the most dangerous while she's in her hidden stance. Your guard indicator is completely gone for the enemy, and there are 3 things you can do once you're actually in this stance. You can dodge out of it, so you can dodge left or right and light attack to apply a bleed. You can press your guard break button to kick the enemy, which is unblockable, or you can straight up attack out of it. If you light attack out of this and hit them once, the second hit is guaranteed and will apply a bleed. Once you have your timing down with hidden stance, Nobushi becomes really scary. You can basically just play keep away all day. There are just too many things you can do with hidden stance to not go over it in detail. Just be careful though, because using hidden stance uses stamina, and when you're out of stamina, you can't use hidden stance. Now here's why Nobushi is so good at animation canceling. She can actually cancel the startup of her light and heavy attack by going into hidden stance. You can use this to bait out mistakes from people who are turtling heavy or playing really defensively. She can also cancel the startup using her back and light attack bleed. Again, these mix-ups become really important because Nobushi can be predictable sometimes. You can also cancel out of the attack recovery. Functionally, you just have to do the same thing. So basically the way it works is after you attack, there's a recovery period before you can attack again. This recovery period can be cancelled by hidden stance or the same back light attack bleed. The advanced videos on how to play Nobushi in the actual game goes over this really well. Now personally, I think that the only real way to learn a hero is to play them yourself, but I will leave you with some useful combos that are going to put you way ahead of the pack. So I've already kind of talked about kick, but let's talk about it in more detail. You can use kick after you hit a light or heavy attack or out of hidden stance. You also get a guaranteed light attack after kick. The range is actually decently far, so you can kick people off edges as well. Using this is a great mix-up after you hit a light or a heavy attack. Remember, it's unblockable, so it can destroy people who are playing way too defensively. You can also essentially chain it by doing a light attack, kicking, and then light attack, and then kicking again. Get used to using this, but don't get too comfortable against assassins. Peacekeeper and Berserker can sidestep this pretty easily, and they're gonna punish you pretty heavy for that. Kick is also a really good way to put some distance between you and the enemy, especially if they're getting way too comfortable right up in your grill. This combo is another one for creating distance and also doing a ton of damage. You're basically just cancelling your recovery period by using your back light attack. It applies a bleed and pushes you and the opponent apart. Next up is another combo that uses Sidewinder. This one is another really good one for getting some distance and doing a ton of damage while also applying a bleed. Basically, the way Sidewinder works is you're essentially dodging left or right and then pressing a heavy attack. The cool thing is that it attacks from the opposite side that you dodge. To boil it down, I'm dodging right here and I'm attacking left. This shit does a ton of damage. It's also a good mix-up just because Nobushi is predictable. So they might be expecting a bleed and instead they get a heavy attack to the face. Now if you use your back light attack right after this, you bleed them and create some distance. This combo alone is like half of an assassin's health. And it gives you some breathing room if you need to follow up. But that is basically the gist of Nobushi. Honestly, I've been playing her so much, she might as well just be my new main. Especially because a good Nobushi is going to control the pace of every single fight. And there is seriously nothing better in this game than running away from someone who is bleeding to death. You just know the guy on the other side of that screen is thinking, man, fuck this guy.
You crazy mother...